Hey folks, this is Walker, one of the hosts of Idio Talk. Just wanted to let you know that this is an episode Zach and I recorded remotely in our own homes, and unbeknownst to me, I was not recording my audio into my handheld microphone, but instead was getting picked up by the computer mic in my laptop. So there is a slight difference in audio quality between Zach's voice and mine, and I just didn't want you to be thrown by that. We had a great conversation that I think you're really going to enjoy. Today we're discussing Thom Yorke's second solo album, Tomorrow's Modern Boxes. And even though it was unintentional, I think having a kind of rushed and sloppy production style really kind of matches this album that we're here to discuss today. So it all worked out. All right, that's it. Enjoy the episode. So once again, this is Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast. Pretty sure I said that up top. I am Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn.
First of all, we're a week out from our Yelp review and email coming out.
Sure.
That's been a huge hit with the listeners. They loved it.
Oh, really?
Right? They loved seeing that peek in. And we know that listeners have really, really enjoyed the surfboard anecdote.
Oh,
because that's something that's come back. So I'm thinking about the listeners and it's like, what other morsels from the past can I give them? And I remembered something about you, Zach.
Oh, okay. All right.
Let me ask you a leading question here.
Sure.
Did you ever, as a kid, have an imaginary friend?
Yeah, I believe there was a brief period in which I did.
Okay, well, here's what I remember about having an imaginary friend. I remember a little period where I had an imaginary friend, and when I think about it, I really cringe because what I know now, looking back on it,
I'm not excited about where this is going.
Yeah, well, this is. Oh, see, I cringe because I think that me having an imaginary friend was very performative, and I was doing it because it was like this thing of like, oh, this is like a precocious. I obviously didn't have that vocabulary to think this consciously. But looking back on it, it's like, oh, I'm kind of being precocious. This is like a cute kid thing to do. It was this like totally inorganic thing, where it's like, oh, like Walker has an imaginary friend. Oh, he's such an imaginative kid, am I? Type of a thing. Like, oh, is it like, is everyone kind of noticing that I have an imaginary friend? Type of a thing.
Inwardly, you were thinking, I'm fooling everybody because I'm shallow and pedantic, to build on your big vocabulary as a child.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know that pedantic applies to this, but not to be pedantic, but I don't know if that word applies.
Well, you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly. But Zach, when I think about you having an imaginary friend, to me, this seems like a much more true expression of kind of who you were and are. And I say that because I remember one thing about your imaginary friend. And I remember that your imaginary friend had a name. And are you comfortable telling the listeners what the name of your imaginary friend was?
No, you can go ahead. You're carrying the story. It's all right.
No, I think I've
I believe
you up.
That the
now, do you believe or do you know?
I know. His name was Josh Brown. I don't understand why this is so funny. I don't get it.
You really don't get why that's funny?
No, I kind of do, but just while you're
so funny.
Can I give a little insight?
Funny. Yes, please. I don't know anything about Josh Brown.
Well, I don't either.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
Here's the thing. So you had mentioned that like maybe the reason for creating this imaginary friend, which I did put in quotes. So that's, I don't know if grammatically that would be unnecessary or not, but for a more like performative angle or whatnot, I do think that influenced me as well, whether, because I don't know when I was doing this, like how far behind you it was or not. So I'm sure there was that subconsciously, but I think that in like animated films in like the late 80s and early 90s, there's a lot of weird ones that our generation, even though we have 3 years between us, like can like recall that were not Disney. They're like this weird off-brand pre-DreamWorks thing. Like
I think those are Amblin,
okay,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so there's All Dogs Go to Heaven. There's this weird like green
An American
movie.
Tale.
An American Tale, and then there's one that's like really pro environmentalism that I can't remember. Maybe it was
Ferngully.
Yes. So I think
that all make you feel weird. They're all like deeply melancholy.
Yes, and I think that even though those movies don't feature an imaginary friend, I bet you from that era there is one, and even those themselves sort of feel like a bad acid trip a little bit. So I do think that, pre-smartphone, pre-internet or whatever, even though, at least in wide availability, there might have been like a tendency, even if you weren't a complete loner weirdo, to have an imaginary friend. That's me really reaching. But as to the why I may have created this thing, I think I was going through my first period of being like, everyone is annoying me that I know.
Oh, really?
And so I'm definitely making this up post hoc, but like not making it up, but like this is me trying to recall. I do recall that feeling, but then being quickly abandoning it because I was like having an imaginary
Josh Brown
friend.
is annoying me too.
No.
It's well, like, yes, man, Josh Brown turned out to be a real chatterbox.
It elicited like a lot the response that's happening now of laughter and teasing, and which I also did not like. But I remember being like, oh, there's a lot of work that has to go into creating this imaginary friend, like imagining the components of a personality, and I'm fuck that. I don't so I abandoned him as an imaginary friend. I want to say like within a day or two, but I could be wrong.
For sure. I that's interesting. So it's like, yeah, like an imaginary friendship is like, at this point, the amount of like emotional labor I'm doing, I might as well put into a real friendship.
Yeah.
Or work on being more tolerant of the people around me. I like that the idea that you're like this like 6-year-old misanthrope who is like, it's like you're like the mad scientist in Nightmare Before Christmas, being like, we'll have conversations worth having. But there is something so funny about having an imaginary friend, which like, it could be anything, right? Like it could be in Calvin and Hobbes. It's like, it's a living, talking anthropomorphic tiger. It could be,
there you go. That probably influenced kids a lot more than it does.
Sure. Kids. Absolutely. Like, I agree with you. I do think there's something that like imaginary friends were like in the zeitgeist. Because I've never heard Ollie talk about it or any of his friends talk about it. Right. Then again, Ollie has non-imaginary friends. You and me did not necessarily.
We definitely only had each other more so than Ollie because we were not raised in a big city, but we did have we weren't losers, listeners.
No,
we became losers, but not at that age.
Yeah, we're losers now. Now I'm like, none of my friends want to talk about Radiohead with me, so I just talk to my brother. But oh my God, what if Zach is my imaginary friend, listeners?
I'm so glad you corroborated, though, that imaginary friends might have been more in the zeitgeist. That was me going out on a limb with like no data to support it, so I feel satisfied.
I don't have a specific example from
Calvin and Hobbes
from media either. Yeah, we weren't really reading Calvin and Hobbes at this time, I don't think.
Okay, all right. Please
but
continue.
In any case, I just think you're right. I think that for it to have occurred to me to start doing it and to like kind of be like, oh, am I being cute? Like it means that it was out there. But what I think is so funny is bothering to have an imaginary friend and then giving them the most milquetoast name. Like Josh Brown to me is the name of an insurance salesman, you know, or totally. Like an IT guy, or just somebody who
a
has
fake identity that maybe Ted Bundy would assume when on the land.
Sure, yeah, exactly. Oh my God. If Zach ever like goes on a crime spree, he'll use the name Josh Brown. Because you know that like those things do come back, like Baron Trump. Baron used to be the name Donald Trump would use. This is true. When he would pretend to be his own assistant.
Yeah.
Or like give like
just
statements.
learned about this recently.
Yeah. So it's like then later he names his kid and it's like, wow, okay. So you're like reaching back into like you like made up characters from the Trumpaverse.
Right. Also, like such low creativity. I mean, a baron is obviously a position in the royal hierarchy of England. And it's like, he may as well just call himself like King Trump or something. But also he chose a mid-tier level of like relationship to the crown.
Well, nobody can have more power than him. But everybody's but anyway, as always, you have final cut here, but I just thought that it was another interesting insight into kind of your character, like up there with the fact that you watched 1989 Batman like every day for a year straight. That you also had it just, to me, Zach, and this is a compliment, it just really speaks to, it's the earliest sign we have of kind of your ability to think from both the right and left brain. Like that you are the kind of person who's like a creative and like is like, I'm an intelligent kid with like who, like has a creative world. Also, the thing that I make up is so coldly logical. And so, yeah, I just think it's a really, I again, like, what we purchased from Universal City Walk, speaking so much to who we are as adults. I think like everybody look at what I'm doing with this imaginary friend thing. And you're like, hello, have you met my imaginary friend, Josh Brown? No, he goes by Joshua as well, but we're all imaginary friends here, so you can call him Josh. Like it just speaks a lot to who we ended up being.
Oh man, that made me blush. That was a very sweet close down. But also I feel like it was intentional or not and I'm not trying to usurp the transitioning here, Walker. This is
no, please transition.
I feel like Radiohead are very right and left brain. And by the way, listeners, I am of the belief that nobody is truly single minded. We might have a tendency with what we ascribe to be either side, but I feel like Radiohead really exemplify that in their music that they've made so well. And I mean, I'm really thinking of Johnny Greenwood and Thom Yorke here. And I know we're not talking about Radiohead today necessarily, but I think what's so cool is that while there is a great deal of precision and obviously musical talent, vocabulary, and all of that for Thom Yorke, he is sort of like a I don't know, but he's not as technically not obsessed, but like maybe proficient in the traditional sense of the word musically as Johnny Greenwood is. And I'm talking about the ability to read standard notation and conduct.
Trained, I think.
Trained for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet I think that's what makes Radiohead so great is that combination of both. I'll kind of let you take it from there because we're not talking Radiohead today, but we are talking one of the two people I just mentioned, are we not?
Absolutely. We're talking about Thom Yorke's second solo album today, 2014's Tomorrow's Modern Boxes. Now, this is right on the heels of us talking about 2013's side project Atoms for Peace and their album Amok. So I think that, listeners who have been following along, they know as we discuss these things outside of Radiohead's catalog, we attempt to do them in a chronological order. So we're still going through the Radiohead studio discography, but we take these detours along the way when the band was in hiatus. So now we've gone from a Radiohead side project in 2013 to a Thom solo album in 2014. This is part of what ends up being a pretty lengthy hiatus for the band before their, as of now, last studio album, A Moon-Shaped Pool. So I'm glad that we're getting to stop over.
Me too.
I'm saying all that, Zach,
Mm-hmm.
to let the listeners take a rare peek behind our curtain here
Oh, okay.
and say,
You're just now doing that, not in talking about my imaginary friend.
no, that's just me blowing up
That's
your
surface
spot.
level shit. Yeah.
That's surface level shit that I just casually toss off because it doesn't affect me. So
Right.
this is about my show that I do with you, Idiot Talk, a Radiohead podcast, something that I've been more protective of than your privacy, right?
Sure.
This is a little bit of a last minute decision that we decided to do this album. Zach and I, we know we're getting toward the end of Radiohead's discography, and we had done Tom's first solo album, The Eraser, because we both love the album and have listened to it for years, and it felt like, okay, we're not doing every single, we're being pretty thorough, but it's not like we're doing all three of Phil's solo albums, thank God. And, we're not doing like every bit of soundtrack work that Johnny Greenwood ever did. So it felt like we're representing each of these kind of solo or side projects that the band members have by kind of stopping over at one point in that. But I don't know. I kind of last minute, I think hit Zach up and was like, it almost kind of seems like a shame to get this far into the discography and not be more completist about it. And the other thing is I know that we both have a lot to say about Thom Yorke's third solo album, Anima. And it just seemed wrong to do
skip,
his first and third one. So all that to say, listeners, Zach and I had an emergency meeting where we were like, we gotta get this done because we got to put this out in chronological order. And that means that we
2 weeks ago.
Well, we both had to cram a little bit because neither of us, I think that you hear us, you hear Zach hear of this album for the first time on our Eraser episode. And I had only just learned about it in researching about the Eraser. So this is and I'm only comfortable telling the listeners this because this is, I would say, the only time we have crammed for this podcast. Every other time we've laid out what we're going to do, given ourselves plenty of time to marinate in the album that we're going to be discussing. This album I have been listening to for the last few days, and now we're talking about it. The other reason I am comfortable letting the listeners know that this was a little bit last minute, aside from the fact that this is the only time that we've been last minute, because I just don't want them to, listeners, I don't want you to think that we just like toss these off. We put blood, sweat, and tears into each episode. We bleed for you, listeners. But I think, Zach, in our quest to mirror the arc of the band.
Ooh, I like where you're going.
With this podcast, right? Famously, our Kid A episode was our Kid A. Right? We did something very different than our listeners expected, but it turned out to be the most brilliant thing we had done up to that point. Our OK Computer episode was our OK Computer. That's where we really locked in, right?
Yeah.
Our In Rainbows episode was our In Rainbows, where people were like, holy shit, who knew this late into their career they had something this brilliant, right?
Totally.
Zach, I think that by the fact that this is rushed and ill-prepared for, our Tomorrow's Modern Boxes episode is absolutely our Tomorrow's Modern Boxes, because listening to this album in a cursory way for the last few days is about what it deserves, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, I guess I've been listening to it. This is not to be competitive or anything like that, but I think it was about like maybe close to 2 weeks ago that we had our meeting, maybe 10 days ago. And yeah, I mean, I definitely had some trepidation about if the listeners remembered that you alerted me to this album's existence on our Eraser episode, they remember that. that's fine, but I was like, man, to have to redisclose that, like, all these Tomorrow's Modern box heads that are jumping aboard, they're gonna feel that feeling that I felt in the past when I find a Radiohead piece of media, and they're like, man, this band's cool. Ooh, I like that part. And I'm like, what the fuck? They deserve way more attention than this.
Right.
You know?
Right now you sound like somebody who's like, it's like, hey, do you like Radiohead? And they go, yeah, I like him.
Oh,
and you're like, okay.
Okay. Goodbye.
Right. You're wearing a Beck shirt, and I had a conversation with somebody once where we were talking about music, and I was like, Colors had just come out, and I was like, I really like this new Beck album. Like, do you like it? And they went, yeah, I like them. And I was like, Beck is not a band. He is a boy.
But no, I think it's okay because I feel that our Radiohead cred, legitimacy, fanship has been well earned if you've been with us for any amount of episodes preceding this. And yeah, this one definitely snuck by in a way that Anima did not. Maybe I was more hungry for new Radiohead related content in 2018 than I was in 2014. I am surprised that I didn't even know about its existence. But anyways, to your opinion, kind of, and take on the album, yeah, it is a little bit of a sleepier one. It is not as good as The Eraser, or as good as Anima, in my opinion. But I think that there are a couple of tracks that, you know, have moments I really like that should generate some good commentary from either one of us. But yeah, it's only 38 minutes, 13 seconds long, and each time it did feel like a bit of a labor, I would say, than most albums that are that short, is kind of how I measure it.
Well, why don't I start playing track 1, which is called A Brain in a Bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And
if I could put my brain in a bottle,
I'd throw it into the ocean for you. This sounds like a Billy Joel song. And I'd write a little note, and I'd hope my brain would float to the edge of the island that is you.
I was going for A Time in a Bottle, which is by Jim Crow. What is his name?
Croce?
Yeah. Was that what you were going to? It just turned into a Billy
No, I didn't know what you were doing. I just wanted to join in. We could talk a little bit about some of the, kind of background of when and how this was released and stuff.
Oh, sure.
To me, unless you disagree, to me, the first track of Brain in the Bottle is prime for talking over. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's great because I do have some background information. And I bet we have similar info that is, I think, just as interesting as the album itself, pertaining to the way it was released.
Do you mean not very?
Well, the method with which it was made available to the public, I think is quite interesting. But I'm comfortable talking over this song. Yeah,
and let me just let you go on that. I will say, I think that right away, it's just what we should say is this is the most electronic focused work from Thom or, the Radiohead camp in general that we have covered so far. And I do think that kind of is in harmony with its release strategy, which why don't you talk about, Zach?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, that was very seamless, Walker. And I would also, when you said the Thom and Company or whatever it was you said, I would say even Stanley Donwood's artwork that he contributed. This is the most sterile, not like kinesthetic piece of art that he's produced.
Sure. Yeah.
It's the most, it's not at the top for me. But it's just a unique release strategy. So in a future episode, I will cite the book Life in a Glass House by John Azelwood, and that's where I pulled most of this information, which can be found in a much more condensed form on Wikipedia. But he just dives into it a little bit more. But listeners, you can follow along if you buy the book or pull up the internet and maybe read along a little bit as well. But in 2013, Thom Yorke and Nigel Godrich were quite vocal about the way Spotify is sort of, and they still are doing this to this day, that they have pretending as if they have solved the the issue of folks not wanting to purchase physical media any longer, and by purchasing all the music ever and charging users a subscription fee per month, that somehow is going to level out to the artist being compensated properly or fairly, and or motivate people to try and get into the music business. Which, just a note on that, like, people don't generally become artists for the rare opportunity to make shitloads of money. But I do think that art needs to be thought of in the public consciousness, or in a business sense. Like, how can we attract people for multiples of reasons, right? You know, like, starving artist to me is a passé and outdated term.
Right, and art is like the thing people are the most comfortable, consumers are the most comfortable stealing.
Yes.
Like, it's like we like really tend to consider it very like, well, there's like the meme of, you've probably seen the meme where it's like a comic strip and it shows somebody and they've got something in their hand and they go like, they're talking to another person and they go, hey, look, I made this. And then they hand it to the person, and the person they hand it to holds it for a panel and then just goes, I made this. and that is like a mentality that I think is really harmful for art and artists that we all engage in.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, totally. But I just really like this aspect of the album, because I do not subscribe to Spotify. Now, our podcast, it just like, Radiohead, they don't make deals with the devil, but them being somewhat anti-corporate and so forth, you can't not engage if you're going to. It's impossible, in my opinion. That is an opinion. Oh, on some level, by the way. I don't mean, they're out there with lobbyists and so forth. But all I'm trying to get to is that the release strategy was, I think it was a BitTorrent release. In 2014, that the album was downloaded over 1 million times within 6 days and became the most downloaded legal torrent of 2014. And by February 2015, it had been downloaded over 4.5 million times.
Yeah, they announced it 10 days before they put it out, and then they released it on BitTorrent, which was unusual. $6 to get the album.
Yes, thank you. And this was, meant to be in not in revolt, but I guess that might be the word I would use, to the way Spotify, the way they conduct business, as I just stated. Unfortunately, going into 2017, this album was added to further streaming services, including Spotify. But I do like that even at this point in their career, Thom Yorke or Radiohead are still finding ways to engage with their customers, in a way that has some sort of statement or message, and is also engaging with the most kind of up-to-date technology at that time, right? And I don't know. I would like to hear your thoughts on that, if you have anything to add detail-wise or not.
I agree with you. I think that it's especially altruistic because Tom only made about $20 million from releasing this album on BitTorrent, and so I think that it does show. No, I'm chiding Tom a little bit because I'm a little bit irritated at him for this album, but I do think it's cool that Radiohead is continuing to, or that Thom Yorke is continuing to try to find ways to make his music accessible to his fans, that they're not just playing to an audience of, people who can spend $1,500 on concert tickets and, $50 on some, like, because the other way you can go with it too, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but is to, like, Jack White is an artist who I really respect, but he's kind of gone this way with it where it's like, well, I'm going to make the physical artifact of my album have all this stuff. And that's cool and stuff, but it makes it very expensive to produce and expensive to buy. And I like that they're kind of going, okay, how are people going to listen to this on their phones? Well, what's a reasonable price for something they're going to listen to on their phones? $6.
Yes.
Where are they going to get it? BitTorrent. Okay. It's engaging, like you said. And I don't have a problem with the fact that Tom made $20 million off it.
Yes, I did see that figure on Wikipedia. And then I went digging through Life in a Glass House. And, I'm not trying to be pedantic, but I do think that it's worth noting. I saw this was pulled from Billboard as well. I think Pitchfork speculated the same. But Billboard and this book I've been mentioning, author John Hazelwood took a different position, basically arguing that, and this is the same within Rainbows and with The King of Limbs after it was, there's always piracy despite the unique release. But like assuming the ratio of people who paid for the full album was comparable to subscription numbers of Spotify or Apple Music or iTunes as it was at the time, the earnings between 1 and 6 million for Thom Yorke are more likely, which is, not bad considering neither one of us had heard of it. And it's for an album from the leader of the band, which is our favorite band, so for him to have, it's much lower than 20 million and I don't know, this is what the book speculates as a counterpoint. Because 20 million is there's no way, there's absolutely no way with the overhead in my opinion to produce this album. And it's not, Thom has not confirmed or denied either figure, right? So there's still a great deal of speculation.
He wouldn't.
Right. And I also think like this goes into like net worth as well. And then I don't want to linger on this. We can go to the next song after this. But like Thom has a net worth of $45 million, which to some people might be like, oh, this person who's seemingly like anti-corporate. I don't know if Thom is like a tax the rich person per se, but I could see him aligning himself with some sort of philosophy such as that. But just because somebody has a high net worth, you don't know what goes into that and how much of that money is given to charity, is given to, whatever. Net worth is not their bank balance, is all I mean to say. And I think the same could kind of be applied to this album. It's not an altruistic act. I know you were being sarcastic. I'm not trying to say that at all. I think it does play into that conversation and argument, though, of incorporating how technology is used and self-interest at the same time can often drive an economic result that is largely positive for most people instead of like the Jack White example. That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that when Thom Yorke attempts an innovative strategy, it is with the idea of fans being able to afford the product and the money going to the artists and the people who worked on it, not these faceless corporations like EMI. And that is an ethic that I support.
But I would also note that I think what's cool about this, because BitTorrent to me is a very 2011 to maybe 2014-ish turn of, I ascribe that to like the same way I do Napster, but of that era of like, we're still doing the same thing, but like the application or the whatever is maybe no longer referred to as that. Maybe BitTorrent is still how people refer to it. But I think what I mean to say is, I think it's cool that Thom did a quieter solo album, unconventional release strategy through something as experimental kind of in terms of release as this, and that they didn't do this with The King of Limbs nor A Moon-Shaped Pool. I mean, we talked about it during A King of Limbs that Radiohead kind of more or less replicated the End Rainbow strategy, but actually made it more favorable for them because there wasn't such an innovation to my mind that could take place as was the case within Rainbows. And, they're still sticking with that model. They didn't go back with EMI, but like this to me sounds dated, but not in a negative way, the way it was released. And also I think this was the right album to take such a unconventional approach.
Well, I think that you're right. I think it's also telling that they didn't do this with the album we discussed last week, Atoms for Peace, Amok.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a test balloon. And I think that that's kind of why this album kind of sucks, in my opinion, is he's doing that trial run with something that they would never do. They're not going to risk a Radiohead album.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like kind of like, oh, these songs are kind of toss-offs to see if this experiment is the future of how they can release better music.
Sure. I could dig
Which
that.
is, I think, why neither of us had ever heard of this album.
I know, dude, but it is weird though. Like, I mean, I read some of the reviews from some of the publications I like to read reviews from, which is not a ton. But I just find the reviews of stuff that I love to like tell me not a lot of new things. Oh, that sounds very know-it-all. I don't mean it that way. I just mean, even if they're positive, they're not rich in detail, which I understand. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a review may persuade me either direction. I try to stay away from them generally, but yeah, it is interesting to see like how this is not was not as critically lauded as the Eraser nor Tom's future solo album Anima, but it was, I would say, roundaboutly a B minus to a B plus when you
Mm-hmm.
net everything together. And I'm really curious, like, what a negatively reviewed Thom Yorke or Radiohead's album would sound like at this point. Like there's famously a lot of art that I love in the form of media and music, less so in music, but that was not positively received at the time or tepid, and is some of, in my opinion, like some of my favorite stuff to go back to. And yeah, I mean, it's just like I don't know why this was so critically lauded. Maybe it was just the release strategy, or maybe people have Stockholm syndrome with Radiohead and Tom at this point. I don't know, but I really don't understand. I don't hate it or anything.
I don't hate it either. I'm going to start playing
Please.
I want to respond to what you actually said, but I want to start playing the second song, which is Guess Again, exclamation point.
Mm-hmm.
And this song is, every song on this album is credited to Thom Yorke and Nigel Godrich, except for this song, which is credited to Thom Yorke, Nigel Godrich, and our old friend Colin Greenwood. Zach is making bass fingers at me. And This is Guess Again. Which this is one of the ones that I think is better.
Yeah, I like the song.
But still not great, in my opinion. But I do think that people have Stockholm syndrome about Radiohead, because when I read the reviews of this album, they all seem to talk about how kind of non-melodic, not particularly interesting, and like that it doesn't sound like a lot of effort went into it, but then still kind of like trip over themselves to say that it's still great. And I don't think that a new artist would get that kind of credibility. I'll tell you, if you want to read a negative review of this album, read the Pitchfork review, because they just slammed it. And it's like, and it was really funny because it was just like, it reminded me of how I think feedback we've both gotten is like, when we don't like something, people are sometimes like, okay, you didn't like it. Like I've like come out of a movie or whatever.
That one over the years.
Yeah, same. I'm working on that one still. With movies, especially, I'll come out of a movie and it's like, the person I'm with, it's like, what'd you think? Oh, I thought it was okay. And then I'll go, well, I fucking hated it. And then an hour later, they're like, okay, you didn't like the movie. Thank you.
Right.
This Pitchfork review was kind of like that, where it's like, the cover sucks. The release strategy sucks. The hooks suck. The music, like, it just like went through every single element of it, was like, fuck this. Like, and I kind of like, Pitchfork is famously cantankerous, and we've given him a little shit on that, but I kind of appreciated it, because I think that if you're Thom Yorke and you are going to be that lauded, well deserved. But I think that like your days of kind of getting to put out a fuck around are kind of behind you, and I don't really want to hear it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a ton of sense. And listeners, I'm sorry if it was a little bit annoying to hear me trying to seek an interjection, but what I was gonna try and say,
but I wouldn't let you.
What if? No, it's okay. What if you were mid-thought? What if though this was on Pitchfork's list that you famously, and you brought up like the first 7 episodes of like how mad it made you that they were doing album scores that we could change if we wish we could change if we could. What if this album was on there?
But they want to rate it lower. They're like, we gave it a 6.3, but we want to give it a 4.2.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I did not read. It's funny because I was just saying that, like, not to sound, full of myself. I really am trying not to. Like, if something has an overall positive reception, I will look into that. But if it's a film, I won't read them in detail because I don't want the film spoiled. But I like to know, like, oh, there's a lot of buzz. And if it's something like from the 70s or 80s that was negatively received, I'm thinking of a lot of classic films in that era. Pauline Kael famously ripped a lot of movies to shreds that are very, very positively reflected upon. With this one, I did not read that Pitchfork review, but I'm glad to hear though that somebody had the presence of mind not to just fall over themselves. And particularly what you said about Thom putting out a fuck around at this point. Thom has never been Prince in his solo output or even in his output in general. You know, I do think that what's interesting about Radiohead is how hard they continue to work into this period in their career in a way that I love it. It doesn't seem desperate and it is fresh and new. But if Thom was putting out a solo album each year, you know, like Prince or like Brian Eno or whomever, you know, I don't know how prolific Brian Eno has been, but somebody like that, where it's like, here's music, I don't care, it's all ephemeral, whatever. But he seems to spend a great deal of time ruminating on his songs, to what group they go to, et cetera, et cetera. And with the exception of that last song, which I really like, and I think has a lot of warmth to it, and I really like the vocals, yeah, it does feel like background noise that isn't super interesting and doesn't hook me.
Yeah, you know what, too? The vocals, I think that's the thing, too, is it's like, I'm talking about I'm not listening to this and being like, oh my God, this is awful music.
No, it's not.
I'm grading it on a curve of Thom Yorke. And, you know, and so tough cookies for Thom. He's, in my opinion, one of the greatest songwriters to ever live. And so by that standard, I find this album to be pretty weak. The vocals are always good. And it's kind of like, that's just a given. So I kind of can't really give it a lot of points for that.
Okay, and I buy that.
And like, you know, I just don't care about like that first song we listened to, Brain in a Bottle, that it's just like, you know, and it's like, these noises that he builds these kind of songs around. I'm just like, I don't think these are interesting except to the person who made them. You know,
now you say
I think
are you referring to Thom or Nigel here, Walker?
I'm referring to both of them. Okay. I think that there's something about these electronic noises that they're very interesting if you pulled them out of a computer.
Right.
But that's the end of it for me anyway.
This is an extension of Atoms for Peace, although this is so strange. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I invested in the vinyl, which was not very expensive. You can play the next song whenever you like, by the way.
Yeah, please. But this is interference.
Yeah, I don't think it's that I invested however much the price of it was. That album I found myself going back to within this project, which listeners might think is unfortunate, or maybe that's cool. I don't know. But to me, I do think that there is stuff to kind of unpack and get into. You know, I like the back half of the album weirdly right now a little bit more than the front half. But this album, I think it's an extension of a lot of the critiques that we both leveled at it. But like not really worth, I don't feel it's not pulling me in to investigate further. And what I really mean to say is I feel like Nigel, who's awesome and whose body of work within and outside of Radiohead, I really do appreciate. To me, starting with the King of Limbs is when I really feel like, total speculation here, Nigel's ego really starts to inflate. And I don't mean like literally like he became a jerk in real life, but I mean in terms of production. His background prior to Radiohead, granted he was a very young person, but was almost exclusively in dance and electronica. Thom's really into DJing at this point. Sorry, cringe. But that's where I think plays into what you were saying, that these noises might be interesting to them. And I know that there is a huge group of folks, probably not only into electronic music, but maybe into this, right? You think about anything that you're not into, and then you search the internet and you go, oh, a lot of people are into this crazy specific thing, right? This is no exception. But I will say, not having a great deal of experience with electronic music myself, but this is amongst the lowest in terms of how interesting it is. And you know what? I'm not going to sell myself short. I do listen to electronic music. I have several stations built off of stuff. I'm not an expert in it. Walker can actually describe how it's constructed better than I could, but I do listen to it. And I would say this album represents kind of a low point in terms of that. It does feel a little bit rushed and not as layered, certainly not as layered as Amok. Your thoughts?
I'm glad you said that, because I think it's important, and I'm not talking for you, I'm talking for myself here. I do always try to pepper my criticism. Yeah, cover my ass. Thank you. With the fact that I am not particularly well versed on electronic music, and that is true, right? But my criticism of this album is not I don't like it because it's electronic music. It's I don't like it because this electronic music sounds kind of hack. Like it doesn't sound like somebody who is doing their highest form of expression through electronic music. It sounds like somebody who is doing a lazy form of expression through electronic music.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, we're not to it yet, but that's why I emphasize that the vocals are good. But that's always going to be the case. Thom Yorke has a great singing voice. The lyrics on this album are fine Thom Yorke lyrics, but they're still good, right? Sure. Like it doesn't feel like he's trying particularly hard, but they're confident. Still good. He knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't, and he knows what he's doing when he wants to make the Eraser, or when Radiohead wants to get together and do something like they did with Kid A, or even King of Limbs,
sure,
right? Like, but he doesn't have the vocabulary with this electronic music to just toss this off. And that's like what annoys me about it is, and the reason I say that is because there are instrumental tracks on this album, and I do like instrumental electronic music. I've name checked them every time we talk about it because I don't have a ton of reference points for it, but I like the early, more instrumental Daft Punk stuff. I like Aphex Twin.
Me too.
I also like just, like scores and soundtracks of stuff like that. The instrumental tracks on this album blow, in my opinion.
The loops aren't interesting and they're not layered enough.
Yeah, there's just nothing going on there. It's just like, sounds like a college bedroom project.
Well, I just want to backtrack to what you said, where you said he knows what he wants to do with the King of Limbs, right? Or that's the difference though, is Walker, is they know what they want to do with the King of Limbs. And that is fun. And I might sound like I'm correcting you. I'm not. I'm just saying that's what I think is easy to forget is and it's hard because the Eraser is sensational, but you really do see the difference. And I think it's just, this is what we will never know, even if we could, uncover stones such as we can with the Beatles, with Radiohead. You don't know how relationships work and how nonverbal communication works in the studio, or verbal, right? And you can't discount, obviously you can't discount a Johnny Greenwood, but you can't discount Colin and Phil and Ed's input too. You really nicely put it, I think, on our Atoms for Peace album, that you think sometimes what Ed could add is like the rock and roll. Hey, this needs more melody. Hey, I loved when you said that, because it's like, anyways, that's it.
Oh, I loved when I said that too.
I kind of derailed you. I'm sorry.
No, you didn't at all. You didn't at all. But I think that that's the miracle of the collaborative process of Radiohead. But it also it's not like Tom can't make fucking brilliant solo albums. But what we know about the Eraser is that they had like 700 hours of musical content that they painstakingly carved down to 9 songs.
Yeah.
And it's clear that that's not what they did here. And that's fine. Like but I just don't understand why Thom Yorke is so afraid of an EP. Like, if you've got 4 good songs, put them out. If you want to put them out on BitTorrent, do it. But don't call this an album. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, Tom.
See, I don't want an EP though. Of even 4 mediocre Tom songs. And when I say I want the Eraser, I don't mean I want Tom to repeat. One of the brilliance of Radiohead and Thom Yorke specifically is the avoidance and the rethinking of how to avoid repeating, right? Or repetition. And I admire that, but this doesn't feel like a different approach. It feels like a lazier approach. I feel like we're saying the same thing, but I've just really started to feel like Nigel fancied himself maybe better at making this type of music than maybe he is. And I know that he is innovative and was. I mean, that noise at the end of Letdown on OK Computer Enough I hear like 7 bands from the 2000s in that noise. That hear Death Cab for Cutie, Postal Service, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think though, and same with like Sea Change, you know, but I think that at this point, not to tip my hand on A Moon-Shaped Pool, but I think that innovating less at that stage in his career possibly maybe has some positive results. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say, T.
No, I agree with you. Look, I always talk about like the baldness of the different band members on this, and I believe we've talked about
yes, you have talked about this,
about how Nigel, you can't tell he's bald from the front, but then you see the back and he's incredibly bald. And the reason you can't tell, listeners, look up Nigel Godrich's hair. It's because he combs the front of his hair into a like Bob's Big Boy style spike. Right? And then you see the back and it's just like huge fucking bald spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that this is the hairstyle indicative of a low integrity person.
Mm.
And that it's fine to be balding and keep the hair you have. That's a personal choice. Yeah. And a friend taught me a man's got to go his own way. But to me, what Nigel is doing with his hair has a deceitful vibe.
Right. Uh-huh.
And so
I love this.
That very much plays into kind of what you're saying of just like, that is the hair to me of somebody who is like, yeah, I've made a few pounds with Radiohead and they're all right. But where my passions really lie is in these electronic forays that I do with Thom, you know? Like, this is like their like jazz odyssey, I feel like.
Wait, what's a jazz odyssey?
Jazz Odyssey is in Spinal Tap when after...
Yeah. No, it's their Shark Sandwich, Walker.
Yeah. Well, what's oh God, what's Christopher Guest's name in Spinal Tap? Is it Nigel? It's Nigel. Yeah. When Nigel has quit the band. Yeah, yes. But when Nigel has quit it's like when they're like kind of at their darkest hour and Nigel has quit the band and they do Harry Shearer's like we could do Jazz Odyssey thing. And this feels a little bit like that to me, where it's like, all right, yeah, you know, as I said in a previous episode, quoting my girlfriend, quoting RuPaul, that's fun for you, but what about
us? Yeah. Let's go to the next song.
Let's go to the next song, where after all the shite I just talked, I really like this song. This is The Mother Lode. What do you think about this one?
I like this song, and the song previous are probably my 2 favorites.
Oh, okay. I'm not a big fan of Interference.
I'm sorry. Well, was the previous song the one that I said I really enjoy the vocals that have that kind of pounding piano line? Dun, dun. Anyways.
Well, the Interference is, there's no drum beat. There's just a keyboard and vocals.
No, Guess Again. I'm sorry. Guess Again is I really like.
Yeah, Guess Again's cool. I kind of like how direct Guess Again is. It's nice that it has like a bass snare. It's like, oh, this is kind of like refreshingly simple, you know? Now this one is, I do really like that the backing track here all seems to be made of like vocal samples. It's kind of neat.
And I like the piano steadiness and all that, and this is where I like the mix of electronics and manipulation of Tom's voice. To your point on Amok and a little bit on King of Limbs, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but like the percussion can become a little bit annoying, is what you're saying at times. I feel that
it can. I mean, I like it because it's not doing it in every song, so I think it's cool in this song. If it was doing this kind of offbeat on the hi-hat in every single song, it might start to annoy me a little bit.
Right, but all I was saying is that you said that about those albums, right? That the percussion, Nigel can fall in love with it too much. I think that's sort of, because this song is 6 minutes long, which is fine. The percussion starts to annoy me in this song, which is the first time that I've, granted, you spoke that into existence like within our podcast, but some things stick with you, you know? And like, I don't think that I would have, it's not that I wouldn't have had the bravery, but when listening to this album, I was like, that is starting to annoy me, and I don't mind admitting it. It doesn't have to be a more complex analysis than that. Because the things
Totally.
I like, you know, I love the piano playing. It's very simple. Go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't waiting to jump in.
I was out of things to say.
I like this song. I also think that that's totally a fair criticism. This is my favorite song on the record, and even this is not one that I would be like, oh my God, you got to check out Thom Yorke and Radiohead. Like, you need to listen to the Motherlode, you know. But I do think it's a nice song. And I do think it is very like house, you know, like this is very like, this feels kind of like, you know, London discotheque 90s music a little bit, but I do really like it. Like I can kind of see it. It sounds like it would be on like the Train Spotting soundtrack or something.
Total Train Spotting 2, the better one. You know what it reminds me of? Oh my God,
I forgot that they made Train Spotting 2.
Is it reminds me of the opening, because I want to be clear, I really like this song. I just like the percussion starts to grate on me as the song goes on.
Yeah,
it is near the top. It's sort of my favorite. It reminds me of the opening track from The Eraser, and it's nowhere near as good, but just the relentlessness of the piano riff and how, I mean, I think you can hear it. They're both authored by Thom Yorke, but this one specifically melodically reminds me of that song in more than, you know.
I also think I think I like the lyrics to this one too, because it's like kind of talking about like sad clowns and stuff. So I kind of relate to it. Another clown jumps off the ladder, a shallow pool, but it doesn't matter the way it goes. He's falling through barriers and hedgerows. A hollow man, hollow hand puppet. Where's the applause when you need it? I like that. You know, but yeah, as a struggling.
Walker, sorry if I could, I just want to tell you, there's no time to analyze and think things through on this song to try and make sense of them. It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy of endless possibility. That's how interesting I think the song and the lyrics are of this song. Is I just want to talk about the song, analyze, shoehorn them into the conversation, and interrupt Walker.
Yeah, no, I mean none of this is like Tom trying his hardest, including the lyrics. I agree with that. You can feel in The Eraser, I think you can feel the pressure of,
hell yeah,
I'm in Radiohead and now I'm making a solo album, so it better be fucking good. Like and this one you can feel the lackadaisical nature. In this one, you can feel the laissez-faire attitude of, I'm in Radiohead. This is another solo album.
I made King of Limbs. Which I've come to love, actually, but...
Zach, this sad clown illusion is reminding me of something. Because we've embarrassed you on this episode. I think it's only fair that I embarrass myself. I don't know if I've ever told you this. Did you know that when I was a child that I painted a picture of a sad clown?
Oh,
and was like in my mind I was like, wow, really makes you think.
It does.
Well, sure, the concept of a sad clown.
How old were you then?
But I don't know, 10.
That's impressive for a 10-year-old.
Zach, there's no way I didn't just see that somewhere. But in my mind, it was like, wow, he's a clown, but he's sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So pretty.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, right, exactly. Not what you expected, is it? But I guess me and my imaginary friend just do things a little differently. You're way too nice to me. I was telling that as God, what, like, I can't believe that as a small child. I just think it's just like that. What is it about me that even as a small child, I was just going like, take me seriously, world. Everybody, I know. Everybody, God, you know, I mean, we're all trying to EGOT, but most of us can only ego. I'm not trying to EGOT. I don't see that happening for me.
You don't want
unless they start giving out
a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony?
I don't know. Do you think that they'll start giving those things out for Radiohead podcasts?
Yes, in our lifetime.
Okay. Well, then I think that we should EGOT.
Yeah.
This next song is Truth Ray, and while we're listening to it, I want to talk about something else that you said, Zach.
Please.
You brought up the album we discussed last week, Amok by Atoms for Peace, I have to issue a rare, if not our first ever correction on this show.
Oh, no.
Which is not to say that we haven't been wrong on the show before, but
no.
If I have been wrong on the show in the past, my response has been to double down. Oh. I think that's all sometimes that's all you got to do is people be like, hey, that thing you said was kind of like, was either incorrect or ignorant or wrongheaded. And you go, no, you are incorrect. And actually you're silencing me. This is the way of podcasts usually, right? But in our last episode, I was very confident about Amok being an album that I enjoyed parts of, but ultimately found kind of dismissible. And I believe I said a few times, I don't see myself going back to this.
Yeah, that really bugged me at the time.
Really?
No, not really. I'm just joking. But I mean, I just had an opposite reaction. But yeah.
Sure. Well, Zach, now comes the correction. I think it was moments after we turned the mics off.
Oh, shit.
That this album got its goddamn hooks into me.
Right? That's what's happened to me, dude.
Really?
We're talking Amok, right?
Yes. And
yeah,
I'm
dude,
like,
I was just saying.
And I'm like, this is kind of.
It's with me.
All of a sudden, this is the Radiohead thing that I'm kind of like wanting to listen to the most, right?
Dude, stop it! Shut up! I mean, it's not that crazy. I was just saying that a second ago, but it's like, I wasn't like, I'm ashamed to admit this, but like, I'm more baffled. I'm like, it's funny because I think I have a tendency to maybe try and like Radiohead stuff a little bit more. And not in a way that's like, I'm going to be the positive one, blah, blah, blah. I just think that you're not afraid to say, like, if something doesn't hit as much with you, which I really like, and I think is good for the show. But that one, though, I'm like, I don't know, like I did spend quite a bit of time with it, but I've been thinking about different tracks in my mind when I'm doing different shit, even when I'm not listening to it. And I'm like, I think I just finished drawing a giant picture with in homage to it, so it's definitely been in my consciousness visually, but I think there's a lot to it.
It was like, man, I almost wish that we'd recorded the episode a couple weeks later, because I guess that this one was just a grower for me, and I nothing on it that didn't really grab me has like become my favorite or anything. But I appreciate the album overall a lot more than I did at the time we recorded. And the stuff that I liked at all, I like a lot now. And I would love if there was a version of that project that existed that had a little less looping and a little more live playing. But that's not what they made. And the thing they made is pretty cool. And I feel like I need to, on pod, be like, I like Amok at least 2 points more than I said I did at the time of our episode. The point where I was kind of annoyed I had to listen to this, because I'm like, I want to be listening to Amok right now.
Man, dude.
Although I should say this song we're playing, I like, Truth Ray.
I do too.
For what it is, which is a slight Thom Yorke song, but I like it.
No, but some of the songs that I'm not as fond of on this record, like actively, I'm like, man, I want this to be over. Whereas the good ones, I'm just kind of like, okay, that went by, like a Truth Ray does. But I do like some of the noises in this one. I guess I lost sight of what I was trying to say, but I just, Amok, there's just something that it really got its tendrils into my mind, and I've really, really enjoyed going back to it. And, we were talking about that, like, we're a little spoiled with Thom Yorke's vocals, but I do really like the vocal lines, and I find there's much more guitar present than maybe we were giving it credit for at the time. Like, I think
interesting.
Really fun to. Well, I mean, you pointed it out, like that we don't hear Thom. We both pointed out in different songs. Actually, we don't hear Thom playing the way he does on that album in other projects necessarily, and that's just one element of many that I've found. Like, ooh, I like this deserves more listens. That's all.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'd like to listen to it more with that in mind, actually. And I think it's notable when compared to this album, which I would say is guitar free.
It is, yeah. At least in the sense that we're used to hearing it. you know?
Yeah, exactly. There might be guitars run through a bunch of different stuff to where it's unrecognizable. We call that the Ed treatment. But I like Truth
With a
Rate.
Nigel at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I like that we're finding somebody new to be like our punching bag, because honestly, it's a little harder for me to have Ed be the go-to of who we pick on after hearing that track from EOB that we both liked a lot.
I didn't really know I could feel so cold till I found my Shangri-La. That song?
Listeners, if you could have seen the amount of stink Zach put on his expression while he did that, it was I saw the home office melted away and concert lights faded in. You all everybody, you all everybody. Remember that song?
This podcast has really gone downhill quickly.
Don't you hate when the fake music or TV show within a TV show, it's like, in no world could I ever believe that this is a real thing that is a hit with people. And the two examples at the top, go ahead.
Nope, keep going. I'm in.
The two examples at the top of my head are You All Everybody. Now I know which is the song by Drive Shaft, the band Drive Shaft and Lost. I know tons of stupid songs through all eras have become acting like such stupid people. Like, okay, here's an example.
Expensive clothes.
Here's an example of the opposite. That Thing You Do. That movie is flawed, but the movie would not work if you could not believe that that song would be a hit at the time it's portrayed, and you 100% do. It sounds like a pop hit from that time that people would listen to, that gets stuck in your head in a earwormy way. You All Everybody sounds like a song that a production assistant like riffed on set.
No, it sounds like Rebecca Black wrote it. Or didn't write it, but yes, same deal, dude. The cool thing about That Thing You Do is not only is everything you said so right on, but it has a ton of chords in it, as songs in that era do, because those folks.
That Thing You Do.
Yes, dude, and it goes to the minor. You're doing that thing you do. It was on a major, and then it goes to the minor.
Yep.
Just like, you know, but
well, it's written by a real awesome song, Adam Schlesinger of Fountains of Wayne, who, you know, has written actual hit songs. And and he's so gifted at that because he also wrote all the songs, or if not all, a lot of the songs in the Josie and the Pussycats movie. And he writes songs for, it's, you know, very funny, much funnier than it has any right to be for what it is. But there's a boy band in that called De Jour. And the songs that he writes for them, you're like, oh, these sound like he could have sold these to NSYNC or the Backstreet Boys, like if they weren't in this movie. So I just wish they would get, it's like, just pay a songwriter, like pay someone who's written songs for Christina Aguilera or Beyonce or something to like write you a hook for your fake song.
Well,
I'm supposed
Christina
to believe this is a
Aguilera
famous
her
rock
own
star.
songs, Walker. Christina Aguilera writes her own song. I hope so. I mean, I just want to believe that because I love Christina so much.
I didn't mean it as a knock. I think most of these pop stars collaborate with
ghostwriters.
And yeah, like, and then even Frank. Yeah, there's somebody who is really famous for she wrote like Toxic and Genie in a Bottle and like I forget her name, but anyway.
Well, if I could just last a little bit on that, because I think it's taken us this long to get there, but I think that is music's version of the Uncanny Valley, to where it's like, because a songwriter or somebody who has some musical knowledge of sorts, right, had to have written that dumb song from the show Lost. But yeah, and obviously, but that person still knows how to write songs, just like the better choice of the guy who wrote That Thing You Do. But there's something about it where I think even non-musicians are like, why does this make me embarrassed? Why does it make me cringe? You know, and I think Almost Famous kind of does that to a degree, which I do not like that movie. Like I've expressed before how much I love the movie Vanilla Sky, but the fake band that is played by really competent, good actors and well-dressed and all that, I'm like, Why don't I believe this band at all?
You don't
Stillwater.
believe
No.
Stillwater. You don't believe Fever Dog would have been a real hit?
No, and it totally could have been, but for some reason, none of everything is just kind of off. It's too rounded. It's CGI Peter Cushing in a movie I love, Rogue One.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I love that because I for some reason I do buy Stillwater, but I also think you're right. Almost Famous is a movie for me that is like, I'm not protective of it in any way. I'm kind of like, when I watch that movie, I'm like, I know this is bad, but I really like it.
Yeah.
Is how I feel about Almost Famous. It is bad and stupid and silly and very like so annoyingly wink and nod about like, isn't the past silly? Like it's that the movie. But I gotta tell you, there is like, I have like a verbal tick. I drink a lot of LaCroix. And many times I will have somebody over. I don't know why I'm being coy about this. When I'm with my lady friend, I'll be getting up to get. I don't know why. All of a sudden, I'm just like, I want the idiot.
Oh, it's because you called yourself out for talking about your girlfriend too much previously.
I know, exactly. Yeah, it's just like, oh my god. Like at this point, people are like, I don't think he has a girlfriend.
So you have your lady friend over.
Yeah, I'll have my lady friend over, and I'll be getting up to get a glass of water or a LaCroix, and I'll ask her. I'll say, would you like sparkling or still water? And if she says, I'll have still water, without fail, I will go, Fever Dog, scratching at my door, which is the only line of Fever Dog that you ever hear through the entire movie.
Yes, I know. It's the You All Everybody. Well, this is what I love about this Project Walker is I have a joke around the beverage LaCroix. Which I know you know, but this is just such weird happenstance. So listeners are probably more familiar with the song Have a Cigar by Pink Floyd. But the opening line is, come in here, dear boy, have a cigar, in the studio version. But in the any time a LaCroix is mentioned, I go, come in here, dear boy, have a LaCroix. And I like to just cut it off abruptly. But it rhymes, so...
I for some reason have to give the other example that I was going to give you of fake thing in a TV. I do. The fake thing in a TV show world that you're like, in no way do I buy this for even 1 second. In the final season of the show Entourage, Johnny Drama is voicing a cartoon named Johnny Bananas, where he's the voice of like an ape that looks like him. And it's like the shittiest like animatics that you've ever seen. And you're supposed to just go, and it's supposed to be like a Fox cartoon that's on the same block with like The Simpsons and Family Guy. And it's just like, I'm sorry, you have to try a little harder to just make this look even slightly real. It just annoys me.
I love that section in the opening.
Build your world.
Well, yeah, no shit. I mean, it's like your HBO, like, you know, you have content at your disposal and creators and animators that could make this look good. But like, I love it in Mrs. Doubtfire when it opens and it shows that Robin Williams' character is doing voiceover work. The cartoons either are real or are fake for the purpose of the movie. And either way, they look totally believable.
Totally.
You know, he's not like and he's not Ari or whatever that fucking character's name is. I've never seen Entourage. He's like a voice actor and not like a household name. Anyways, movies used to be
Ari is Vince's manager, so that's the Jeremy Piven character. You should watch the show. It's really good, and I would say it's particularly good in its portrayal of women characters.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. It's seriously like it's so weird, Zach, because it's not that long ago, but culturally it is. You're like.
It's a light year.
We joke about like how much people love to say like you couldn't do this now. You couldn't, wouldn't, and shouldn't.
There you go. Yeah.
Do this now. You watch Entourage and you're like, oh my God, this is like the last gasp of everyone being like Yeah, rampant misogyny is cool. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They should have called it Posse to make it age even worse.
All right, this is
Yeah, let's get out of here.
This is another song off this stupid album. It's called There Is No Ice, parenthetical, for my drink.
Yeah. This was a title they were going to use for Hail to the Thief, and they're like, this is pretty dumb with the parenthetical. Let's go with the good ones and save this for Tom's future solo album, Yesterday's Passé Circles. Oh, I mean Tomorrow's Modern Boxes. Sorry.
Now, Zach, I do think this is actually worth pointing out. I think the naming convention on this album, again, indicating to me that this is an intentionally slight album. These are some of the most kind of like lighthearted or silly song titles that I have ever seen with any Thom Yorke project. Brain in a Jar, Guess Again with an exclamation point. That exclamation point is the most un-Radiohead thing ever.
I don't like punctuation.
The Motherlode
song titles generally.
Really?
But the Guess Again, no, not typically. But you know, there's a few exceptions. But like, yeah, it feels too like Grimm's fairy tales when people do it, or something. I don't know, like, you know, The Adventure, or you know, when it applies too much story to songs that I wouldn't think of as such otherwise, you know, or if they were that written from that point of view or motivation, like this is a story song, I'm going to take you on this adventure. The exclamation point automatically makes me skeptical.
That's interesting. I don't mind, in theory, Tom taking himself a little less seriously with these titles.
No.
But in this particular case, it's indicative of an overall laziness that just makes me feel like, we didn't need to be involved with this. You and Nigel could have just did this for fun. Passed it back and forth to each other.
Well, I gotta believe too that Thom Yorke, as we've discussed, you and I, as I've echoed Jesse Rimler, former guest of the show, he said he doesn't get the sense that Tom is sitting on like a mountain of lyrics or poetry, and I've clearly really latched onto that. But I just think it was so well said because, you know, Tom's songs tend to be like shorter stanzas with a lot of repetition. Not always at all, but like that is a thing that other artists have done that I think is like something he has done really, really well over the course of his career. But you got to believe, though, that Tom, even we know this from the book Fear Stalks the Land, that he's writing out turns of phrase at any given time, and then they're sort of reintegrating them. That was specific to the writing of Kid A and Amnesiac. But these feel like ones that he's like working out and was like, that's really good, eh? And Nigel with his big bald head was like, fuck yeah, let's make this album.
Yeah. Nigel was like, hey, do you like my single spike of hair protruding from my forehead? Does it totally cover up the fact that I'm bald as shit in the back? And Nigel's probably also like, he's probably trying to like bully Phil too, being like, oh my God, Phil, you're so fucking bald. Isn't he, Tom? Tom, did you hear what I said about Phil?
Oh, so he's Polly now?
Yeah, no, he's... You hear what I said, Tom? I called him Croak Dome.
And Tony in that moment we're talking about Sopranos, folks. He just is kind of like, Polly's really starting to annoy him. That's an episode where they're highlighting how annoying Polly is for Chris, actually. But Tony isn't that impressed by that repeated joke because it's like, yes, I heard you 2 seconds ago. Yeah. Anyways, folks, watch that show that ended 16 years ago.
Oh my God. I mean, I think that it is almost, well, I was going to say just in terms of the relationship of the hosts of this podcast, I would say that it is almost equal, if not equal, to Radiohead in terms of shared obsessions.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, I
think that off pod, we talk about Sopranos as much as we talk about Radiohead.
Sopranos does represent a shared language and a huge thing for us to just bond over, whether one of us is watching it or, you know, I don't know that we've ever watched the show simultaneously. But anyways, like
we watched episodes together.
No, we have. I just meant like, hey, I'm going through The Sopranos right now, and we usually watch them like at different seasons or whatever. Who cares? But it represents like a shared language, something that is so. I think for me, Walker was one of like Radiohead represented like a new level of analysis that I wasn't able to apply to story. The Sopranos really like taught me that is like possible in whatever the story is focusing on, right? Mafia to me like was like simple, like gangster or whatever. And that's so funny too, because The Godfather has a lot of other meaning and depth laid into it. But all that to say, The Sopranos I watched when I was 20. So I was behind. It had already ended is what I mean to say. But I really remember that being like, man, there's so much written into this, So anyways, that's all.
Absolutely.
I like Radiohead more than The Sopranos, though.
It's tough for me to say. I don't know about that. But,
they're close.
Somebody else I know already does a great Sopranos recap podcast. So Radiohead was available.
Right. Just like Thom was available for this album. God.
Yeah, so listeners, this is There Is No Ice, parenthetical, for my drink. Zach, would you like to hear my one-sentence review for There Is No Ice, parentheses, for my drink?
Yes, please.
I have no patience, parentheses, for this song.
Oh, I love it.
Let's move the fuck on.
Nice.
This is another instrumental fuck around that sucks.
It's called, title, though.
It is called Pink Section. Now, Zach, this song is called Pink Section. This album is called Tomorrow's Modern Boxes. Yeah. Is this album about pussies?
I don't know what it's about, but that I couldn't escape that connective tissue as like a through line. I hate the title of this song so much. By the way, huge fan of vaginas over here too.
Sure,
so it's just the title.
I'm a fan of vaginas. I'm famous supporter of vaginas. I'm also not. I don't have a problem with songs about vaginas. Ooh. What I don't like is this kind of like have it both ways.
Yeah, dude.
Like kind of like distance that Thom is trying to have from the vaginal reference here. Like Prince has already come up in this episode as he does in many. He writes a song about vaginas. He's like, this song is called Sugar Walls. Yeah. Like I only called this song Sugar Walls because they won't let me just call it Labia Minora.
Which, by the way, Sugar Walls, much better than
much better than
we should. Section. I'm not saying that we should, in our own lives, refer to labia in such a way, but yeah, I think that has a little bit more distance too, Walker, than like whatever the fuck this stupid song is called. Prince. Yeah.
Oh, Zach, also, we're forgetting that, like, in the last 5 years, there was a song that made a huge splash in our culture, and splash, no pun intended, that is very directly about vaginas, called Wet Ass Pussy by Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion. Yeah. And again, I would say that Wet Ass Pussy is also a much better song about the Pink Section than Pink Section. Mm-hmm. Now, Zach, I have Googled best songs about vaginas, and let's see what we've got here.
Sorry.
Oh my God, Zach.
I bet hit me. Sorry.
Why did that? That really was tough to hear.
Yeah, that was awful.
Now, some of these I have heard. So we've got My Neck, My Back, famously followed by My Pussy and My Crack.
Wait, who's that by?
Kia.
Okay.
We've got the Bloodhound Gang is on this a few times.
Let's not even dignify them with a listing.
Red Hot Chili Peppers on this a couple times. We've got Special Secret Song Inside, and Sex Rap. Now, I'm already taking issue with this list because also on here is Nookie by Limp Bizkit. Now, I didn't say songs about sex. I said songs about vaginas.
Right.
And I'm also not okay. There's a song by another rapper I like named Cupcake called Vagina. I don't know that song. Nirvana has a song called Moist Vagina. I wonder if the listeners like hearing us say the word vagina this much. What do you think?
I'm not sure. Listeners, write in and let us know.
If you are still listening to the podcast, there is also Winona's Big Brown Beaver by Primus.
Mm-hmm. Winona had a big brown beaver. Let's listen to that song or the next song.
And she strokes it all the time. What a stupid band.
Primus?
Yeah, I mean, I like them, but I'm also just like, I don't know if I do. I think I respect the musicianship, and I respect commitment. That they are unapologetically them.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I don't know if I really like a bunch of grown men doing a bunch of songs like Winona's Got a Big Brown Beaver.
Well, that song is rough. I mean, but
yeah, but also Tommy. I mean, what are their other really famous songs?
I like Tommy
the Cat.
That song fucking rules.
I don't know. It's
is
dumb.
it? Do we have one more song, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that was Pink Section. I would say that Pink Section, out of all the songs about vaginas we just talked about, I think that Pink Section was the worst one.
Mm-hmm. Which is
now
ironic, because again, huge fan of vaginas over here.
Right. Yeah. And huge fan of songs, and you'd think that we loved when those things came together. Huge fan of vaginas, songs, and Thom Yorke, yet those three things have coalesced into something as shitty as Pink Section.
Ooh, yeah.
Zach, now, would you believe that Tom is now moving us from the pussy to a little further up the body for a closer called Nose Grows Long?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't think this song's about Ed's giant penis?
Of the listeners.
Ed's got a dick like an elephant trunk. So I'm going to call it Nose Grows Long.
Ed, I've got a little bit of a cheeky reference to your massive member, mate, on my solo album. I'm sure. God, I love that Ed has gone from being objectified on this podcast for his handsomeness to us speculating about his genitals. It's really, I just don't know if we're ever going to get him to come on the show.
No, but would you believe, Walker, that Ed, if I could have my pick, so I have two things I want to talk about before we end the episode, and I'll go the shorter one first. So, if I could hang out with any member of Radiohead, and if I had to choose two, like first and next, the first one I would choose would be Ed O'Brien, because he has a YouTube channel. He's done an interview with Paul McCartney. There's something really, really genuine about the way and granted, if you're going to interact with Paul, I don't care who you are, you're going to put on a smiley game face. But I've watched him do other interviews and talk. He's just, there's some likableness about him, which I'm not surprised, but that's also unapologetically unintimidating, which I love, because he's a big guy and he's good looking and he's famous. He's in fucking Radiohead or whatever. The second, so Ed would be the first, because if I had questions like, what was it like when Tom said this in the studio, or when he came up with this, or when Johnny added that lead line to Optimistic, and he'd be like, oh, let me tell you, Zach, and he wouldn't mind getting into it, I imagine. Whereas if I asked those questions to Tom or Johnny or whatever, Tom would revolt in anger, and Johnny would claim he has no memory of such a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Tom would lash out, Johnny would shut down.
Exactly. And and the second would be Colin, because I do think that Colin is the second or third best musician in Radiohead, in my opinion. Johnny being the first. Tom really being tied for one, but I think Colin's proficiency on the bass guitar is maybe a little bit more standardized and whatever. He's focused on one instrument, whereas Tom is so good at a lot of things. It doesn't matter. But I want to hang out with Colin because when they were touring the Kid A and the Amnesiac albums, those are the tours I've watched the most live footage of. And he rocks out so hard and is looking around at his mates, and in, I would say, the most obvious bewilderment of how good they are. This is just my take on it. And I think he would also similarly have a lot to kind of expound upon, were you to ask him about the brilliance of the other members or himself. But I don't know if you want to expound upon that. But
I completely agree with you. I think it's bared out by the fact that those are the members that they make do all the interviews.
Yeah, Phil doesn't really give a lot of interviews either, huh? He doesn't.
I think Phil's pretty quiet too. I think that Ed and Colin are the most comfortable speaking. Mm-hmm. Now, Zach, I quite like this song. What do you think?
I would say, it took me a while to get there. I've been listening to this album not solely, but pretty much on repeat for the last week and a half. And I was pretty not into it. Like, it's only 8 tracks long by like the 6th track, maybe. Yeah. And so it took me a few listens to realize that,
that's because the 6th track is that bullshit, there is no ice for my drink.
Right.
And it's almost 10 minutes long.
The first, second, and third song I like to varying degrees, but I like. And then this song I quite enjoy as well. Now, I do have one other thing. I know we want to keep this episode not short, but relatively short. But I do have one other thing that I would like to seriously discuss regarding this album. But
sure,
I've been doing a lot of talking here, uninterrupted.
No, go for it.
So I really like...
I said all that cool stuff about vaginas before. I think it's your turn.
Yeah. And I was trying to add. I'm like, I think vaginas are cool too. I've had sex once.
I'm the only one who has proof that he's had sex once. So.
Wow.
My kid.
Anyways, yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm just saying, you don't have a kid. I've never seen you have sex, so I guess we'll take your word for it.
Listeners, get ready for the links in the show notes this week. Anywho's, though, what I really thought was thought-provoking about this album, all 2 of you who are still listening to this episode, is the title. I even made a joke that it could have been called Yesterday's Passe Circles. I forget what type of trick that's called when you invert something or say the opposite of whatever it's called. I was trying to be funny when I did that, but I think Tomorrow's Modern Boxes speaks to what Radiohead did rather on their best named albums, in my opinion. So Kid A and Amnesiac, In Rainbows, and The King of Limbs. We not on all of them to the same degree, but we really have talked about and discussed and thrown out some theories or quoted folks as to like what those titles might be invoking. To me, Tomorrow's Modern Boxes is something I could imagine like being adopted by the right by people of a certain political extreme, like, you know, I've heard people try to co-opt like Revolution by the Beatles as like what he's really saying, and it really annoys me.
Right.
What I mean to say,
what he's revolting against is having to use somebody's preferred pronouns.
Exactly. Thank you. No, I have heard stupid arguments like that though.
Sure.
Where I'm like, who knows? Because John Lennon's dead, but I doubt it.
I'll shut up and let you continue.
No, go ahead.
Orwell is the number one.
Thank you.
Constantly misappropriated to be like
absolutely
used to make right-wing points.
Thank you. Yeah, and this one, I think that might sound like a damning critique that it could be used like that, because it sounds like what'll tomorrow's contained, narrow-minded ideas be like, but they fancy themselves like progressive or modern. This is just what I'm drawing upon it, and I don't revolt against like having to use somebody's preferred pronoun. There are a lot of the things that I feel like as a society, those of us that are willing to learn are learning right now, right?
Sure.
Some of these lessons are a little bit like, okay, I got to kind of resituate my mind. I don't think he's saying it like, oh, what'll tomorrow's dumb thing be or whatever. I think it's rather like a little bit of both though. Like what are tomorrow's ideas that are actually just a recapitulated version of the same thing? And an analogy I will use is the fantastic film Eyes Wide Shut. Talks about that in life, and especially in the 20th and 21st century, men and women, or relationships, it doesn't have to be obviously just men and women. That's what the story focuses on, is a heterosexual relationship, fancy themselves very progressive in their ideals and in their equality and treatment of one another. And yet, at our roots, we kind of default to a lot of the same things. But the thing I love about that message of that movie is it is not a defense of misogyny or any of like these archaic ideas that hopefully we can grow past. but it is saying at our core, and it's kind of poking fun at it. That's one of many, many reads on a very complicated film. But the novel Traum Novelle by, I want to say it's Arthur Schnitzler, really, that is the message of the book. And I would say Stanley Kubrick elaborated on it a lot. And the album title, contrived or not, that's what it made me think of.
I like that. I have nothing to add because I think that's quite good, and I think you nailed it. And
fuck yeah,
leave it to you to pull some insight out of something that I did not get a terrible amount from, but I'm still glad that we covered it, Zach.
Yeah, I really liked the album cover, or album title rather.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just glad that we covered this album in general, and I'm glad that I'm now familiar with Thom Yorke's second solo album.
Yes.
Now, I want to say one last thing about this record that is my final word on it.
Okay.
Which is that this album was listed in Rolling Stone's Best Albums of 2014. Now, this is the definition of a legacy admission. This album is a Nepo baby, and its parents are Radiohead and The Eraser. And that's why we think that this is one of the best albums of 2014. I love Thom Yorke, but he's never going to learn if we pat him on the head every time he does anything. So I would just like to say, I looked at all the albums from 2014. This is not one of the best ones. Here's a few that are way better than it, that if you don't know, you should go listen to. We've got Vince Staples' Def Jam debut, Hell Can Wait. Vince Staples is one of my favorite rappers currently working. Hell Can Wait is a super intense, awesome debut. We've got Run the Jewels 2. That's probably my favorite record of 2014. We've got D'Angelo's amazing comeback album, Black Messiah. And then we've also got, in the rock and roll category over there with Tom, we've got Ty Segal's Manipulator. Ty Segall makes like multiple albums a year. He's kind of one of those like King Gizzard style artists.
Sure.
But so he has a ton of records that I have not listened to, but this is one of the half dozen or so that I know pretty well and really, really love. It's a really nice mix of kind of heavy anti-folk and hard garage rock. It's great. Go listen to any of those.
No, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
But and my favorite album of 2014, and I get to take this even if you're about to, because I'm wearing a Beck shirt, is Morning Phase. And listeners, listen to this album. I listen to Run the Jewels 2 more than I do this album, but this is a great one. And it did win, I believe it won a few Grammys. Regardless,
it won album of the year.
Yeah, it's Beck stripping it down, but without seemingly focusing on that idea so much. It feels very natural. And
kind of a sequel to Sea Change.
Yeah. The Empire Strikes Back, though, of sequels, in that it's better, in my opinion.
Than Sea Change?
Yeah. We're staunchly divided on Sea Change. I don't hate it, but I don't love it as much as you do.
Wow. Okay. I Morning Phase did not, other than that single,
Sea Change
did not really stick with me. I love Sea Change.
Sea Change actually is better. It's not, neither one are amongst my favorites, but I like it way more than this Thom Yorke album. If we're talking about short, very pale gentleman, Beck's Morning Phase is much better than this album.
It's also produced by Nigel Godrich.
It sure is.
So not only is Tomorrow's Modern Boxes not one of the best albums of 2014, it's not even the best Nigel Godrich album of 2014. But Zach, I'll tell you what, it is not the worst album of 2014 either, because do you know what that is?
No.
That would be Weather House by Philip Selway. So, Tom, you're not the best.
Oh, and wasn't it dedicated to Scott Johnson, the drum technician who passed away?
Well, now I feel bad.
No, I feel bad for his memory that a shitty album was made.
Yeah, the final indignity that Radiohead's drum tech that was crushed in a stage collapse had to endure was his memoriam being on a Philip Selway solo album.
Let me say this too. No one in the world wants to die in Canada except for people who live in Canada. It's a good place to go, isn't it?
Yeah, and even they, like most Canadians, deathbed words are, "Can you just take me over the border into a real country?" Oh, Zach, to me, this episode really had...
This is our Tomorrow's Modern Boxes following the arc of the band. This episode's not very good.
No, it really had a loose vibe, a kind of playful vibe, and ultimately a comedic vibe. I had a lot of fun discussing this with you. And I'm really excited that next week we're getting back into the Radiohead catalog.
Yes, Walker. I have a feeling next week's episode is going to be superb, mirroring the arc of the band. That might tip my hand that I feel favorably about that album, but I just have this feeling, Walker, that next week's episode and the week after that are going to be excellent. And I have a feeling that our Anima episode, TBD though, is going to be much better than this one because that album is really good.
I know that it will because it's a better album than this, and we purposefully did a less good episode because this is a less good album. And so, yeah, if you're wondering how if you're wondering how the upcoming episodes will be, and you can't wait to find out, just go listen to the next Radiohead albums, and you'll know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So listen to A Moon-Shaped Pool, and that'll tell you about where the quality is going to be for our episode. Zach, this was a lot of fun. Listeners, we will see you next week. I have been Walker Glenn.
I am Zach Glenn. Out of sync like this stupid album.
And we have been Idiotalk Podcast, Tomorrow Never Knows edition.
Tomorrow's Modern Boxes.
Tomorrow's Modern Boxes. Tom's attempt at foraying into the sex song, talking about how... No, this is not how we want to close. All right, listeners, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Idiotalk is a Glenn Brothers production. Get in touch with us at idiotalk.podcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at idiotalk.podcast. And thanks for listening to...